Ahead of the 150, there is Captain Teague, whose chasing career begins with a walkover. James, Anthony, flesh it out.
Nick, you won't believe who won Best Turned Out. And I'm not kidding, it did flash up on the big screen. Captain Teague has got Best Turned Out, obviously, the only participant in the race, and not even a race anymore. Just run us through, James, exactly what we're about to see.
Yeah, Harry Cobham's just going to canter him past the stands, past the winning post to collect the first prize. I think he just gets the first prize of £21,000. You have to stay on board, so you wouldn't want a sharp one that might be a little bit leery and whips round. Just got to go through the motions. He won't get a penalty though. I'm pretty sure about that because Penton Hills, we had this scenario. He went to Huntingdon a couple of years ago now where his novice chase ended up being a walkover, and he won't get a penalty. But look, it's not great for the sport. The ground, no watering system here at Exeter. They can use bowsers if it gets really dry in the spring. But the problem is, horses are now trained, generally 95% of them on an artificial gallop, a poly track, sand-based. They would school on grass, but a lot of the trainers, the ground's been too quick to school them on the grass, and they're just not really conditioned to run on a quick ground, whereas at the end of the season, let's say when you go to air, you get pretty quick ground. Yeah, Harry Cobham just cantering him back past the stands, and it's a shame it's packed stands. He's having a little bit of a look at the path there. But collect first prize as soon as he goes past the post. It's just biggest day of the season here at Exeter. It's very frustrating for all concerned, frustrating for anybody watching, and people can't understand why people won't run for £40,000. But look, Sue Gardner's got daring plan. If he schooled round, you'd be getting £10,000 per second, but they just feel that the ground's too quick to risk a nice horse picking up a slight leg injury. Unfortunately, a slight leg injury means you miss a whole season. And as I say, they're just not conditioned at the moment at this stage of the season really to be running on such quick ground. You've got your summer jumpers, but a lot of those, I'm surprised, perhaps more, didn't actually enter because this was always a scenario. You've got the Rising Stars tomorrow at Wincanton. That's got 5 declarations at the moment. Whether all 5 take part there, I'd probably be surprised. But these winter main season novices, they're just lacking that conditioning. From your
experience of handling horses, being part of a training operation, and from local expertise, as you've just brought in exactly the difficulty of watering around here, is there anything that springs to mind of what Exeter could have done differently ahead of this, or is this just one of those freak things?
To be honest, no, because we knew that there was no watering system here. It's a shame that the 2 meetings here so far, it was probably quick enough on the first of those. I was here with Nick, I think 10th of October. Second meeting, it was good to soft ground here. It was absolutely perfect ground. No issues, no complaints. We had no non-runners on the card at all. It's just we stuck in a spell where it's been cloudy, not particularly dry days. We just had no rain for a couple of weeks. It's just a very frustrating weather pattern that we're enduring at the minute. Next week still looks dry enough. Cheltenham's going to be a little bit tricky for their main meeting for November. It's frustrating. There aren't many novice chasers to go around in the first place. Now we have a lot of novice handicap chasers. Generally, people probably wouldn't even have had this on their agenda. So I think it's probably a missed opportunity by a few yards that had horses that were running through the summer and that wanted the quick ground. Paul was happy to run his horse. So his Matterhorn would have been one that could have gone in it in the same colours. But yeah, it's just frustrating for all concerned. Yeah, frustrating indeed, Nick. Unfortunately, Captain Teague, as you've just saw, has taken his walkover with no shocks, no scares or anything. He's officially off the mark over fences, having not jumped an obstacle. It's a situation no one wanted. We've just had a walkover in our latest race here at Exeter. One of the participants taken out by trainer Dan Skelton. Just sum up your emotions at the moment.
Oh, there's no emotions. It's just very, very frustrating. It is what it is. You got to deal with facts here, not emotions. It is, of course, it's the ground, but it's not the ground. It's the weather. You know, no one is responsible for this. It's not like the Clarks have made an incorrect call. It's not like you know, they've overwatered or it's just the weather. So there's absolutely no fault whatsoever. And it's highly frustrating for everybody. It's highly frustrating for the industry. I'm sure there's going to be lots of comments about how embarrassing it all is and everything else. But unfortunately, you can't feel embarrassment at this point because you can only do the right thing. It's driven into us from every angle about welfare. So if you don't think you're doing the right thing, you have to act appropriately, and that's what people are doing. So, you know, all of this, oh, it's embarrassing for everyone. It'd be a lot more embarrassing if we were running horses and they were getting injured. So I think if commentators could please bear with us that we're making the right calls, that would be most helpful. But it'll change. It's, you know, it's the UK. It will rain. Probably won't stop raining when it does. Like I say, no one's accountable for this. It's just highly, highly frustrating. I wish I could run them, you know, and I wish we could put on a more appetising show. But that's just the way the weather is, and we can't beat nature.
So from your perspective, there's nothing from a trainer's point of view that the track could have done more than what they have?
No, because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because if you're going like really, really water now, and by the way, 10 mils isn't going to make a jot of difference. You've got to be watering for at least a week in advance, hard. And who could possibly water for a week in advance in November? Because the forecast could change in 48 hours. And I remember the backlash poor old John Pullen got at Cheltenham 2 years ago when he watered the evening before it had an absolute downpour on the Thursday. As it was, the water he put on made no difference because he had so much on the Thursday. The 5 mil he put on overnight was irrelevant. But, you know, that's the jobs the clerks of the courses have, you know, and then they get a load of stick for it. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And you've got to remember is, you know, those horses running around out there, they're animals, they're not machines. And the humans that are making the calls to try and get the better of the weather, you know, we're dealing with something much stronger than us in the weather. So I don't place any blame or any criticism at any door, and I certainly hope that no one else does.
I've seen Heltonham's been taken out. Etalon still runs?
Yeah, he runs, and I just think he probably can cope with a bit better ground. Cheltenham, he'd just be going so fast, and his legs would be going all over the place, and it'd be a fairly uncomfortable ride round for Kieran. So you just got to do the right thing. But I know I've been quite strong with my comments, but you know, I just do feel that everyone is trying their best, and we're just getting defeated by the weather.
Just on Etalon, you pitched him right into big company, gone up the grades prior to entry last time. How has he taken his summer?
He's a beautiful horse. He always does really well over the summer. The only time he disappointed us last year was actually at Aintree. Watched it back a couple of times, and I don't know, he got a bump at the start. Don't know if that put him off, but he travelled quite well into it. So not really a valid excuse when you actually get to the back of 2 out, still going okay. Maybe the end of a long season, maybe just not quite grade 1. So yeah, we'll find out a little bit more today.
Sometimes he went off 9-1, and sometimes, I mean, the position you were in, you were chasing a championship. It was going to go down to the wire, and that can be factored in to the price to go off. From your perspective, though, it sounds like you were expecting better than you saw. Yeah,
we didn't go to Cheltenham with him, so we were always going to Aintree. That was plan A. We thought he had a massive chance going into it, and like I say, he just never fired. Like I say, that could be for a number of different reasons, but hopefully it's not because he wasn't good enough.
Best of luck here, and thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It's as if we've been gone forever, but soon it'll feel like we've never been away. It's showtime.